What's up everyone, The Mitchells vs. the Machines just released on Netflix, so let's review it. Real quick, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below, tell me what you thought of the movie. And this is going to be a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't seen the movie, you don't have to worry about any spoilers. Anyway, let's get into the review. So The Mitchells vs. the Machines is a new animated movie from 2021. It's on Netflix, like I mentioned. A quick plot description of the movie without spoiling anything is this movie is about the Mitchells, the family, whatever. They go on a road trip because the dad wants to like bring his daughter to college because they're kind of like separated, and he wants to kind of bond with her. So that's really like what's going on. And then this crazy like robot thing happens where like these robots or AIs or whatever you want to call them, they like take over Earth, and then the Mitchells have to save the day. And then that's really the plot, and obviously it goes on from there. So overall, the plot's kind of creative. I love road trip movies. This isn't as much of a road trip movie as it's advertised. But overall, that's the premise of the movie. Now let's get into the review. So overall, I like this movie for the most part. For starters, I think the animation style is really cool. It uses a lot of different like animation techniques that kind of we've seen kind of coming about lately. My best comparison would be it's kind of like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse a little bit, for sure. I think a little bit of Lego Movie in there as well. It's just really like a mix of different things, and it's really cool. They use lots of different styles and lots of different kind of concepts and like ideas, and it's really unique, I think, and the movie definitely stands out in that regard. I feel like the animation in this movie really makes it kind of unique to itself. And when it comes to the wide variety of animated movies we get, many of them being very generic, animation style really goes a long way, because this movie will stand out because you just remember its animation style. And there's lots of different ways they use animation with how they tell the story. I don't want to go into too specifics of it, but they do lots of different things throughout the movie. When it comes to the animation, how creative they are. This movie's very creative, but they use lots of different techniques. I think that's really cool, and that was definitely a plus for this movie. I love the characters in this movie. This is very much a character-driven movie. It's very much about the Mitchells, the family, and really the family relationship and the family bonds. And there's really some emotional moments about that. But I think the characters in this movie, they all kind of had their own dynamics and their own arcs, and they all stood out on their own. They all had just different things about them that made them work as characters, and it all came together. The cast of characters was just really good, and I really liked the characters in this movie in general. The voice acting was fine, and overall, I really liked the relationships between the characters, particularly the father and daughter relationship in the movie. It's just executed perfectly, and that's really the theme of the movie, is the father-daughter relationship. It's done really well. And really, I just think the characters and the relationships in this movie were the best part of the movie for me. And it's definitely a very relationship, character-centered movie if you're going into it. I'm not talking about the humor of this movie. I did laugh quite a few times in this movie. There's a lot of just jokes that I found funny, a lot of kind of like dumb jokes and stuff like that. I find dumb humor pretty funny. There's a lot of that in there. And overall, I think the humor was pretty good. They make a lot of jokes. A lot of the jokes I did not laugh at. They make a lot of like kind of meme humor jokes, and just stuff like kind of like meme-y stuff. And I don't really find that funny. I do sometimes, like they make like dad technology jokes, which is kind of funny, I think. But I'm not a big like meme humor kind of person, and they make quite a bit of it in this movie, and I rarely laughed at it. So I'm not a big fan of that, but there was definitely some stuff I did laugh at. Like there's a joke with the robots and the dog that keeps happening in the movie. I thought that was pretty funny. It's kind of dumb kind of humor, but I like it. It's funny to me. But overall, I think the humor did work in this movie. Just there were some moments that I found beyond not funny to just the point of kind of annoying at how unfunny it was to me. But I think the humor worked for the most part. But this is kind of an interesting movie, because I saw that it had a crazy high Rotten Tomatoes score, like 97%. So my hopes were kind of up for this movie, because I was really excited, because I love animated movies, and I love kind of, especially animated movies that bring out emotion. And like I said, this movie does bring out quite a bit of emotion at times, not as much as like a Pixar movie, but it's definitely present. But once again, I was really like excited for this movie because I saw it got really good reviews, but I don't think it really lived up to that for me. I don't think it's anywhere near that level of like an amazing animated movie. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it got beyond the generic point, which is huge for an animated movie, because I think so many animated movies are generic. I tend not to like a lot of not Pixar animated movies. Aside from a few DreamWorks movies, I'm Outside of Pixar, I kind of struggle with animated movies, but I thought this one definitely stood out, and that's really important. But as I kind of alluded to, I don't love this movie. It's pretty good, it's just not great. The biggest negative of this movie for me, I thought the plot with the robots in the movie was really a drag on the movie. It feels like they wanted to do a movie about the family dynamics and the father-daughter relationship in the movie, and that's definitely where this movie's strengths are, but this movie needed to have a thing to sell the movie. So they're like, oh, let's do robots. And that's kind of what it feels like to me. It feels like the robots are really just kind of like tacked on just to kind of have, the Mitchells versus the machines. Because they had all this kind of family dynamics in there. And they have to have something for it to kind of, to make the movie roll. And it felt like that was the robots here. And that didn't really work for me. I thought the robots just felt kind of out of place. I don't think, I like road trip movies. I wish it was just a kind of a road trip family bonding movie. So many times I think animated movies go way over the top when they don't need to, and I think that's definitely the case here. And in general, just overall, I thought the plot felt a bit kind of all over the place. It didn't really have a clear direction, aside from the family dynamics, which I personally think are very strong. I saw some people actually complaining about the family dynamics. I completely disagree. That was the strongest part of the movie. The characters, the dynamics, that's great stuff. I thought this movie did that very well. Just the plot was kind of lacking. Not terrible. I can't stress that enough. It wasn't terrible. Just it definitely held the movie back for me. But for the most part, the robots were really my only complaint. I did think it ran a little too long, or at least I found it boring. But I think that goes along with the plot. It just wasn't super intriguing. The movie was entertaining. It just wasn't like intriguing. I wasn't invested as much as perhaps I should have been, and that has to do with the robots and the plot just kind of being a little lackluster. But overall, I felt this movie to be funny, heartfelt, and entertaining for the most part, even though it may have ran a little too long. I just think it's a really solid animated movie, and definitely one of the better 2021 movies I've seen so far this year. I would highly recommend it if you haven't seen it, especially if you have like kids with you, or a little brother or something, a little brother or sister or something. I definitely recommend it. It's definitely, kids will definitely like it, I would think. I liked it for the most part. I tend to like kid movies, but I would highly recommend you check it out if you haven't. I'm gonna give it an 84% and a B-. I think that's kind of around the middle score. I don't think it was amazing like some of the reviews might make you think it is, but I don't think it's far from terrible. It's a really solid animated movie, especially in a world where we get so many animated movies and so many of them being not good. It's really nice to have this movie kind of here stand out, and especially with how stylized it is, that's really nice. And it's Columbia Animation or something, I guess. And maybe that's going to be a thing in the future, but I hope it is, because Columbia's done some really good animated movies, and I would love to see them continue that, because like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was really good. That's going to do it for my review of The Mitchells versus the Machines. It's a pretty solid animated movie from 2021. I highly recommend you check it out, as I mentioned. But if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and comment down below, tell me what you thought of the movie if you've seen it. And thanks for watching, and have a great day.